The backhand returner serve, a lot of people's enemy, this shot, and it's not that easy to do. And actually, we had Stingray here firing off a few balls right into some difficult areas of the court. And, these were lob serves, just clipping the side wall just under the line, pushing us back in the court, where I find a lot of people really struggle. So I thought it was worth doing this video between my shooter and myself, and we spent quite a lot of time doing this backhand returner serve and with that ball in that consistent area. But before I jump in, please do click in the link in the description, grab your free personalized swing audit. Would love to help you out as much as possible. So there's a version 1 of this where I was filming it from a different angle. So this is version 2. And I think, like I said, in version 1, it's good to have a different angle on this. So please do watch the other one because there's probably a load of coaching points and tips in there that might not be in this one. Okay, so a couple of things that we're looking to do to start. I'm quite a big fan of this neutral position. What I mean by that, it's about a racket's length away from the corner of the service box. I'm quite open. I'm quite tall. I'm not that rotated. Again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with this. I just slightly prefer it a little bit more open. What my student does really well, he's got his racket up in a really nice position. Mine's up and it's a bit more neutral because I'm slightly more open. So I think we're in the same-ish position here. So as the ball comes around, there's a lot of tracking that needs to be done. Just have a look here at where my racket is compared to his at the same part of our movement in the same part, because we actually make contact about the same point. Look how much more distance he has away from himself, whereas mine is tucking in, it's getting in behind me. There's definitely more of a bend in my elbow, and it's not necessarily needed to be the exact angle, but you get that sense that the bend in my arm is a little bit more severe. I'm tucking it in. I'm trying to get myself ready a little bit earlier. I think my wrist is a little bit more cocked as well. Like it's just a little bit more facing upwards, whereas my students is possibly a little bit straight. But a good start here. But a lot of what I look to do here with this returner serve, especially when it's a real tough one in that back corner, is trying to get the most optimal base possible. And just as a snapshot, I think our bases look pretty good, so that's not too bad. And that's not too bad. And actually, my student's base is really good. If I'm honest, it's got like a very nice position, but it's not as efficient as I'd like to be. One of the big things, just take a look here at the contact point, and I'm just going to toggle that. Play spot the difference there. What are you noticing from the right to the left? There's quite a big difference there because we make contact at the same point. And what's happening to my student compared to me? I'll dissect that in a moment. Because the big thing here, just going back a step, I'm going to just have a look at mine. What I'm pretty big on is where's that left foot going down? If I can place my left foot, that's my stabilizing foot. It's in the ground, it's ready, it's stabilized, it's strong. Now you'll notice that foot pretty much locked my left foot, and then I use my right foot, bang, to get in there. Obviously, I've got to lift my heel up and get onto my toe because I'm trying to crouch. Check that out. I'm really trying to load up my legs, and that's why I love it from this angle, as opposed to my student. He's already on his way out. He's falling back a little bit. So there's the spot, the difference. He's too close. His weight and energy is getting dissipated in the wrong direction. And if you notice what I'm doing there, I'm pretty on it, aren't I? My back is just leaning in. It's not dead straight. It's just leaning in. Whereas if we look at my student's back, it's straight, but I think there's a little bit of a leaning out. And you can just see like even his shoulder, it just feels like things are falling out the way a little bit too much, aren't they? So that for me is the most striking thing in this image, I would say, is that idea of, yeah, look at the difference there. That for me, if you can just take a mental snapshot of that, we want to optimize this side. We want to be possibly a little bit less of what he's doing here. And I know I'm being like super critical, so apologies if there's any egos damaged or anything like this, but I know my shooter well enough and I'm sure he takes this in a real good spirit. So again, going back a step, that real loaded position, I talk a lot about, you probably heard me say this, 1, 2, 3 part of the swing. So I'm in number 1, 2 would drop around me. Let me just see what number 2 looks like. Okay, so there's number 2. Just have a little look at that. Very horizontal. You see the blade of my racket. You see the racket face looking at the ceiling. You can just about see it there, but my elbow, forearm, you can't see my wrist, but my wrist is all looking up at the ceiling. So that position 2 is optimal. And how interesting is this? And this is what I wasn't able to notice before. And that's why I love these different angles. Look at my student's position 2. That is severely down, isn't it? He's possibly a little bit exaggerated. And I think there's a bit of compensation. He does that because he's possibly a bit too close. Throws that racket head down towards the ground. So that top of the racket head is now looking severely down at the ground. And again, it just could get very messy at this point. So it's not as clean and as neat as I'd like to see. One other thing, look at how early he gets in position 2. So, or towards position two. So I'm still just in position one, going to position two. Look at his there on the left. Look at how the point when mine's at the blue, there's his. His has already gone to there. So that's quite a lot, isn't it? There's a whole 90 degrees that have moved before there. What you want to do is you want to store your energy. You want to keep that racket up towards the ceiling and pointing towards the sky as long as possible. And you don't want to be rushed or late, but that stored energy is so, so key. So you're seeing a few things here. And one other thing that I, again, didn't notice live, but now I'm seeing it here. Look at that left hand. So that's coming in underneath, whereas my left hand is underneath my elbow, and I'm not, scissoring it. I'm not kind of crossing it inside. So that's something that's just a little bit constricting. That left arm of my student looks a little bit constricted there. And yeah, look at that. Interesting. He keeps it quite close to him. So again, I'm sure he's watching this now as well. It'd be quite interesting to know, if he does this in future ones. So again, something that I didn't pick up as well. If you're looking at my left arm, look at how it's being used. It's being used to balance, and it's being used to release that swing. Okay, so next few little tips. As I'm hitting that ball, notice this. Look at the full chest and full hip area of my student looking directly at the front wall. We got to make sure we stay more side on. If you notice me, I'm trying to hit, I'm following through. There's going to be a natural open and natural rotation, of course. But look at how I'm trying to keep things a little bit more side on. The ball's gone. It's left my strings. And at the same point, my student is already, head up, directly looking at the front wall. What you'll notice from some of the top players is when you really watch them as they're hitting, hopefully I'm doing it here okay. I'm not saying I'm a top player for any second or stretch of the imagination, but I'm looking out the corner of my eye. My whole head and face is not turned, because if I'm turning my whole head and face, what it does, my chest follows, and then everything follows out there, which I don't want. I want to be more side on. When I'm hitting this here, let me just go into the footwork a little bit now, because there's a little bit thing on the footwork. I know I'm jumping back a little bit. Like I said, I'm a big fan of placing the left foot, so then the right foot goes down nice and solid. Student there goes, left foot, doesn't quite get it right. So what he does is he places his right foot, and then he has to have a third movement where he has to throw his left foot further back again in order to get in that position. And this is just a little bit of experience, a little bit of time, spending time doing this, ghosting it. Obviously you're not going to necessarily ghost a huge amount of the return to serve. If you get a training partner to practice, ideally if you've got a ball machine, putting the ball machine into that same part of the court again and again and again to get something closer to this, where it's a 1-2, left, right. So you go boom, boom, again, boom, boom, left, right, left, right. That's ideal. Again, I won't get that right every time, but I'm striving for that. That's what I'm looking for. And then just to kind of bring it all home, talking about what I did at the start, or not at the start yet, but how this swing finishes, look at all of that energy being used cross for my opponent. What he does well, and again, it's a bit of a compensation, but as he hits, he stops his follow through because he's having to now steer and guide the ball rather than releasing. If you notice mine on the right there's a good release. I feel confident, just that swing can be just very natural. I don't need to poke at the ball. I don't need to stop it. I'm letting that go. And then I can skip back to the tee, get into that optimal position. And just in regard to placement, I'd take that. Not too bad. Not the tightest shot in the world, but pretty decent. It's sending it into that back part of the court there. Nice and neutral. I know I finished. I'm coming back to the camera to probably turn it off now. But that for me is where I want to do that return to serve. What I would now do is, if I was continuing this rally, I would be floating my tee round about there. I'd be trying to nudge across a little bit. Obviously not, kind of coming so far across, I'm blocking my opponent and run the risk of being hit or giving a stroke away. But with a good return to serve, you want to maximize it. You want to move across the tee, make sure that you're now hunting the next shot. Tell your opponent, you shall not pass. Why give them an easy out? If you've played I'd judge that maybe at about a 7.5, 8 out of 10 return to serve. So decent, that can be upgraded to a 9 out of 10 by simply standing over there. If I was to go stand in the traditional tee position there's a whole bunch of space here. My opponent could probably hit a 5 out of 10 and still get it past me. But if I'm standing there, he has to hit like a 7 or 8 out of 10 to get it past me. And these are just the little odds you want to play around with. Okay, so hope that helps everyone. The backhand return to serve, a big nemesis. So it's really cool to be able to go into a little bit of detail here, talk about some of the nuances and the technical things. Don't overthink this. Don't try to do everything all at once. Don't swallow that whole elephant. Break it down into the small component bits. build it up bit by bit by bit. But as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for all the love and the sharing of the channel. Please do comment, like, subscribe, share with friends and family. I know some of you might not want to share with your rivals, but hey, listen, we're trying to grow the squash community. If everyone improves, everyone gets a little bit better, I think the game grows at that ground level. So please do feel free to do that. Grab your free swing audit, check the link in the description, and have a little look at the squash playbook while you're there. Some cool stuff in there, and it's being updated all the time, the digital version especially. Okay, take care, everyone. I'll see you at the next video. Bye.